Hey, hello, sir. What's going on?
Hey, nothing much. Nothing much, TriHex. So I am Arctic Pyro, and my question for you, as we know, the internet has changed how we consume content in terms of uh, with TV shows where we binge content. How do you think we'll see the landscape change in the future in terms of technology and how we consume content? Like I know as and how we perceive the enjoyment of that content. So I guess to give a in context example, I'm 31 years old, so when growing up, I'm in middle school. Every kid on the block is talking about Dragon Ball Z, except me, because I was too poor. I didn't have cable, didn't get to watch it. I didn't get to watch it until I was in college. I found a streaming site where I was able to binge the whole series in like 3 weeks, which it was good, but I didn't really get the hype about from what I remembered from my friends at the playground talking about it at the time. I didn't really get to understand how hype it was until we did the Dragon Ball Z abridged watch while you were playing Dragon Ball Z. Was it Xenoverse 2, I believe?
Kakarot.
Was it?
It was Kakarot, but it's cool though. I got you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
thank you. With traditional content, you get one episode a week, and it gives you time to mull things over and talk about it and theorize with people that you also watch it
Mhm.
with. So whereas I binged the whole series and I didn't really get to talk it over with anyone, so it wasn't quite as enjoyable. Do you think we'll see changes like that in how we consume content versus our perceived enjoyment?
A good question, actually. So there's a lot going on in your questions. Let's start off the first part here. The first part is that, all of us who consumed the dubbed Dragon Ball Z original run on Toonami, yeah, we were all in unison of enjoying the pace of the dubbed releases of Dragon Ball Z. You are correct. And
Mhm.
that enjoying it at a set pace allows an audience to foster and speculate what's going to happen next and kind of like discuss and engage in it further, right? You can see a mirrored effect happen with Game of Thrones before, in its entirety. Game of Thrones was the top pirated show in every country that it wasn't available legally to consume on demand. And the thing is, even though it was on demand whenever it would be released, each on a per episode basis here, because
Mhm.
the discussion of it on social media was like absolutely livid upon the original airing that would happen on Sunday nights. Everyone was compelled to, even though in a DVR, restriction free world of view it would at your own leisure, everyone would opt to consume Game of Thrones frame one, minute one when it debuted on HBO, right?
Oh,
So
for
it's
sure.
like
You got to keep
the
up with the
camaraderie,
discussion.
yeah, the camaraderie of the audience, what is like the social factor, gives it a whole new component and layer to the consumption of the enjoyment. So that's not going to go anywhere. That has persisted even past the static schedules of broadcast television, where everyone had to like get on the TV at Tuesday night 8 p.m. for American Idol back 20 years ago, right?
Hmm.
So so that won't really change because the social factor is so lucrative for all those who are consuming it.
Oh,
Um,
for sure.
but
It's like free advertising.
that's TV though.
Yeah.
The I think the more exciting question with your the most more exciting spectrum with your question here is how that will change for gaming. Um, for games, it's hard to say because I do feel going into next generation of consoles with the PS5, Xbox Series X, and whatever Switch is going to do at this point, games will get more expensive, as we already know right now. We're already going to see games are
Right.
going to become $70 standard going forward, which is getting kind of crazy, right?
Yeah.
It's further increasing the demand for legitimate gaming subscription services. So I think that people are going to see increasingly here that like oh shit, I really can't afford more than maybe two games at most a month, and
Hmm.
probably not even that, maybe one game a month at most, right, on new release or whatever. So it's a lot harder to swallow $70 a month for a game, where and then the value comparatively for something like Xbox Game Pass is going to be $10 a month to get access to everything, including all the new shit when it comes out here, minus the exclusive that's what it's going to have. So I
Right.
just further and further see here gaming subscriptions gonna be like the haymaker, the hail mary to make next gen, current gen gaming much more accessible, I imagine.
Yeah, and I would
Um,
also say it eliminates the need to be a patient gamer, where before, patient gamers would they would basically wait 2 years for games to be discounted, have all the content combined into one big game of the year package, so they can make gaming affordable for themselves. But
ah,
with subscriptions, you don't
they
have to
can
wait for that to happen.
and they do, But just like with the Dub DBZ argument we had earlier here, you missed out on all the social camaraderie of being there for
That's
the
right.
hype. You know, I missed the original hype of playing Nier when Nier first dropped. I missed the original hype of playing GTA 5. I missed the hype of playing
Yeah.
Mass Effect Trilogy. I missed the hype of like, you know, whatever, everything,
Yeah.
honestly. You know, so I have a Twitch community to enjoy that with cooperatively, but that's definitely still a simulated experience compared to like being there for it live. You know,
Hmm.
so
Yeah, for sure.
so you know, being a patient gamer has like a trade off as well here if you do it deliberately outside of the monetary optimization. So
Right.
so those are answers to your 2 questions right there. They were good questions. However, though,
Thank
we
you.
gotta go. We gotta go. So vroom 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 vroom.
See you.
All
Have a good
right,
night.
later. Kick them out, boys. Hello, sir. How are you doing? What's going on?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm thirsty. I'm doing a lot of talking right now, so I'm gonna need you to do a lot of talking for the next 2 minutes while I recover my vocal cords.
Okay, that's fine. No worries. So I wanted to switch gears and talk a little bit more about careers because I think you have a lot of good advice when it comes to careers, and not just careers, but also your career as a streamer. So um, you gave me a lot of good advice when it came to sort of sticking with a job, even if it sucks, even if it's shitty, if it pays well, it might help you kind of step beyond where you happen to be at that point in time. And so I really took that to heart. And the job that I've been working right now has been like super stressful. It's really difficult. I do like fiber optic cable engineering stuff and I make maps and shit. And it's like super complicated and I have way more responsibility than I was ever prepared for. But like I've taken the time to sort of learn the job, learn the people that I work with, and I feel like I'm in a good place now. And so I guess when it comes to streaming, you know, you've been on Twitch for years and years and years. You're an OG. You've seen the platform grow and evolve and develop and seen all the changes that it's gone through. And so I'm just kind of curious what advice you have to offer to people in chat who may not have a direction that they want to go with their career, or maybe they want to take streaming a little bit more seriously, and sort of what you would sort of advise to anybody in the chat who wants to take up streaming or take it more seriously, and how do they navigate Twitch now or their early career now versus, I guess, going forward. If that makes sense.
Okay. So it seems like your question was including some parts about like a generic career advancement advice, and then comparatively wanting to pursue potential career overlap with doing Twitch more seriously. So for the sake of like both of those are really big questions. I think I only have time for one of those. So I assume you want to hear more about the Twitch career overlap thing. Like, what should people do if they want to take Twitch more seriously?
Yeah, that's probably a little bit more relevant, I guess, for chat. Is sort of they want to kind of hear, you know, you had a way different experience coming up on Twitch than somebody does now. So I'm kind of curious, somebody who's been in the game for so long as you have, sort of what your thoughts are on Twitch as a platform, streaming as a career, taking other platforms a little bit more seriously than just going all in on streaming or something like that.
Okay, great question, actually. All right, so the breakdown here is that ultimately growing in order to take streaming to a commercially viable level, I think first you have to be like mentally prepared for it. People who get into streaming who are fixated on success, they want to be the next Ninja, they want to be the next Tim the Tap Man, the next Dr. Disrespect or whatever. They're fixated on the side effect of the initial reason those people got into streaming. You get into streaming because you enjoy it. And then from there you grow to a point where you're like economically viable. And then you start to worry about the other things later on here, I'd imagine. But you have to enjoy it first, because if you're like fixated on the money part, now this is different than other careers though. I also want to bring up here too here. Like I do feel like being an entertainer, which is kind of like ultimately what you are when you're like a influencer / streamer / whatever you want to call what I do, what we do. It's very like mood dependent. It's very mentally enduring. Like I can't be in a fuck ass mood and put on a good time. I would imagine it won't be very, very inviting here. Comparatively, when you're optimizing your fiber line and all that, you can, your job is to do the task, and I don't think you have to be too communicative or hospitable or in a cherry ass mood whenever you're doing it. You do the task and you're done, and that's it. I would
All
imagine.
right, time's up.
Hey, yo, shout outs to Blues Champ for giving me my first sub to the channel.
Oh,
Homie.
Time's up. Get him out of
all
here.
right, get him out of here, man. All right, hang on. I'm gonna do a little overtime here on that one. So okay, sorry, I'm still making it long here. So long story short, yeah, you got to make sure that you enjoy the craft of streaming before you can get into the commercial viability of actually streaming yourself here. Many people get really fixated on like, over optimizing and over crunching their metrics when it's like their first month in or whatever. In reality, I would just take what you already do with gaming and just go ahead and happen to go live with the leisure gaming you already do. And even though you're going to be a 0 viewer Andy or like a 5 viewer Andy for a hot fucking minute, again, the problem there is that growth on Twitch is very fucking terrible. So you're gonna have a very hard time growing without having a very distinctive content plan in the first place here. So if you're just some generic variety gaming dude who likes to chill with people, you don't stand out at all here. You got to have something like, mega bankable and very distinctive to ever have a competitive advantage. And even then, that's just if you have that, I think you'll have the path to growth, but you still are not going to be guaranteed growth, and you're not guaranteed linear growth at that here. You're not, just because you stream 80 hours a week doesn't mean you're going to get, 8% growth week over week continuously, infinitely, right? It's all about preparedness meets opportunity here. So I would tell anyone who's aspiring to like grow on Twitch, honestly, you're probably better growing on a different platform like YouTube considerably, and then learning from those experiences and coming back to Twitch ultimately here. However, though, if you enjoy live streaming so much more than doing static video on YouTube, then fuck the advice there, because if you're mentally into it, it doesn't fucking matter anyway. Keep doing what you do and then figure out how to get the economic viability later on anyway. Now, there's more to it than just that, by the way, but I feel like I'm already over time here, so I'm gonna go ahead and like stop and say, hello, sir, what's going on?
Hey, how you doing tonight?
What's up? I'm thirsty still. I got you. What you got?
So you mentioned earlier, it was funny, someone donated some bits talking about all gas, no brakes. And that kind of leads into my question. I know there's a lot of talk about, echo chambers where you have Republicans, Democrats not able to really communicate with each other because they're just getting reiterated the facts they want to hear. And I'm kind of curious where you think this like new, more underground form of media coverage can kind of come into play, where you have these people on the ground. You watch this guy talking to people at Proud Boys rallies, just like he's talking to protesters. And people want to talk to him because they don't feel like they're judged by him. Like he asks a lot of questions. He doesn't feel like he's coming in with a spin. And I think that, like, I'm kind of curious what your take is on the possibility to kind of get back to having outlets or news sources that people can kind of not unanimously be trusted, but more so like people are willing to listen to the other side if it's coming from this kind of source.
So you're asking me how do I feel about the rise of independent journalism, or like the continued popularity and what the future of it's going to be for the country and stuff?
I'm kind of curious if you think there's any future in it for people to kind of like be able to kind of do boots on the ground type like coverage of things.
Oh, well, it's a cool question actually. Yeah, I think independent journalism is a phenomenal, fantastic. I mean, we've seen, I don't know if you've like compared the two here, but like I generally feel like there is generally fawning coverage of like Trump supporter or Trump rallies comparatively, and then you go to like independent journalism, again, you could see the fringe extremes of groups being covered by All Gas No Breaks. We can talk about Rebel HQ, which is the vision of the Young Turks, and how they cover the Trump rallies, and you see them there. You can talk about the more conventional coverage with like Jordan Kepler of Daily Show when he goes to Trump rallies comparatively. One seems really raw, one seems hyper edited for comedy content, the Jordan Kepler one particularly here. You can see a difference of approaches there ultimately, and I think there's definitely room for independent like journalism to come in and just kind of like show a lot more of the raw and how things really are, whether it's like a society wise acceptable, ethical or not. I think there's definitely a spot for them, but the problem is is that these independent journalism outlets are considered a threat to the commercial corporatist news organizations. So, because the dominant platform for growth in this regard is probably YouTube, YouTube is very, very pro corporation because they got all the fucking money right now. You're seeing essentially, I mean, I don't know. I've seen like these news networks able to just like rip, privately Twitter recorded video, give no credit, rip actual YouTube original content and credit it as from YouTube, not even crediting the original author, and just get away with like, mass DMCA striking anything they want to at discretion when there's no penalty whenever they invalidly strike something as like a copyright explicit, even if it's blatantly under fair use. So ultimately, the DMCA being antiquated, that's making it coincidentally indirectly pro-corporation, leads to YouTube's reluctance to openly embrace their strength, which is their creators, because they want their short-term profit from corporations, usually stiffens the growth by independent journalism. And I think you would see a lot more of it pop up and do a lot more if the viability was a little bit more guaranteed. But hopefully people and phenomenal innovators like All Gas No Brakes will continue to innovate. But even that still, I don't know how much of it would survive on its own. I think because of their very successful Patreon being crowdfunded, that's why they're able to keep doing what they do at full throttle. So it's still got a ways to go, and corporations are being tremendous cockblocks the whole thing. But I do love seeing independent journalism thrive, because I do definitely think that the corporate commercial news and organizations are very, very antiquated and just kind of trying to like stronghold the whole operation. And they are doing it because they're creating manufactured consent with all their garbage in the first place, because they are operating for a profit agenda as opposed to being a little bit more objective with the news in the first place. Hello, sir. What's going on?
What's going on, man?
What's up, man? Time is ticking. What you got?
Yeah, so first off, appreciate taking the time out to talk to you. My first question, and maybe you
Absolutely.
already went over, maybe you already went over it earlier. I had the whole thing kind of muted in the background, but as far as kind of understanding where to find sources of information with all the politic information you can find that you would consider to be the most, I guess, unbiased, finding ones that don't lean super far left, like like if you follow Occupy Democrats all day and that's your only information source, or if you follow Fox News or Breitbart or Drudge Report, whatever you may call it, as your only source of information. I want to try to find the best sources that I would believe to be, unbiased, or at least to be kind of fair on both sides. Sure, I could probably Google that, and they may have a chart that says Washington Post or maybe New York Times, but a lot of people can say, oh, well, that's the fake news Post or the fake York Times. So it's my question is kind of like, what is your opinion of news sources that are kind of more on the, what do you believe to be the most unbiased?
Okay, good question. All right, so here's what I got for you. Okay, so if you're looking at a news source, I am generally, when I'm trying to verify sources and all that, I'm looking for the direct source. Oftentimes you'll see like a Vox article, or I don't know, a New York Post article that is citing a report that's elsewhere. So I try to find what they're citing and then what the other one's citing, and then you get to the part where what the original source comes from, where it originates, the accusation that this happened or this is happening, right? I try to get to the direct source if I can. I try to like cross verify and get like at least more than, if it's like a big accusation, generally I will try to like find multiple sources that are saying the same exact thing happened, rather than one particular thing that's going to try to have the incentive to like deliver a biased perspective to paint an agenda of some sort. So an example here would be, okay, so yeah, Kotaku, for example. Let's go with that. Let's go with like something non-political, right? So Kotaku is known to be kind of sus, right? They clickbait at the wazoo. They got some garbage ass articles. Kotaku, I would look at, well, who wrote the article? Like if there's like an op-ed about like some bullshit or whatever here, I'm gonna look at, well, who wrote the article? Who's this person? Go through their Twitter timeline, find like what their posts have opinions in the spectrum of, and if I generally think that they're usually pretty shit, then I'm like gonna discount the article entirely here. See if the article is usually an opinion piece or kind of like a tell-all about what's actually happening. Both will generally look the same, but you'll usually get like a specification about it being an opinion piece or an op-ed, compared to being, you know, a big journalism bombshell comparatively, right? Like you can see like op-eds in New York Times that are very, very different than, say, like the bombshell journalism that was probably a multi-year evidence-based piece, such as the Trump's tax plan the last 15 years that was in that one bombshell the week after the first presidential debate.
The time is up. So
Time is up. Get him out of here. Gotta go on next one here.
All right, man. Appreciate it.
Later, bro.